All right, Chad Millman, CCO, Action Network, all odds provided by FanDuel. So I ended my regular season hitting 54.5%. I had a winning week last week. I like to get to 56. This year I was 54.5%. I'm okay with it. If I picked earlier in the week, I think I could go from 54.5 to 56. I'm not going to make any excuses. That's not who I am anyway.
Let me ask you a question. Last week, I said, take these teams, and I feel like you'll get there. And I don't think you took those teams.
I think I took one of the teams.
Hey. I don't have a problem finishing at 56% this year.
Well, you're a professional gambler.
Well, I'm trying to get you there. That's why I give you the answers.
Yeah. That's what my mechanic says. And then I say, listen, you work at Jiffy Lube. Fix my goddamn car. No, listen, you do that. That's what you do. That's why I bring you on. I am a slightly more refined square than your average square, but I'm a square. That said, I usually take underdogs. Let me tell you because I like two of the favorites this week. Let me tell you the underdog I like. I like the Ravens. It's now at -10. They've given Joe Burrow, issues. I do not like having to face a team back-to-back. Cincinnati's better. There's no question. But this series and this Baltimore culture made Brady earn every win, made Peyton earn every playoff win. They're built for this stuff. The line's 10. I have to take the Ravens, sharp or square.
You have to take the Ravens. I'm sick about this. It's totally sharp. I took the Ravens at 6.5, thinking Lamar Jackson might play. I took the Ravens at 7.5 when I thought that when it became clear Lamar Jackson probably wasn't going to play. I can't believe this number keeps going up. And I think you nailed a couple things on the head. Number one, playing the team again is a challenge. Number two, culturally, this is a good spot for the Ravens. They don't get blown out in games. Three, let's talk about the offensive line for the Bengals, which are now down 2 key players. And even last week, when the Ravens were resting 8 starters, they were still getting pressure on Joe Burrow. And this is an entirely different defense since Halloween. That's when Roquan Smith joined the team. Since that time, they've gone from 20th. I'll use a fancy analytics term that bettors love, DVOA. Really just a stat that encompasses many different metrics to come up with all-encompassing number. A lot of bettors use it. They were 20th in DVOA against the rush. After Roquan Smith, they were 3rd. 132 points allowed since Smith joined, second fewest in the NFL.
He's a tackling machine. He and Fred Warner, they're just great tackling machines.
But here's the other key. He joined the team, and Patrick Queen, who had been underachieving, which is why they traded for him, moved over, and now together they are a much more athletic, pass-rushing dynamo that has the 3rd most pressures of any linebacker duo since Roquan Smith joined the team. So 10 is just a massive number. It's getting out of control.
Yeah. Seahawks getting 9.5, some places 10. The weather's going to be windy and cold and wet. I know, I live here. We're getting hit with what they call cyclone bombs, Pineapple Express. Now, Southern California is just getting wet. NoCal's getting wind and wet. You're asking a rookie quarterback, first playoff game. Pete Carroll's been around the block. This is not his first rodeo. Do I think the Seattle Seahawks struggle to move the ball? Yeah. Their offensive line, the rookie tackles have, as Greg Cosell pointed out to me this week, have regressed post-Thanksgiving. Why? Because you go from college, you go down to Phoenix or Miami and train, you go into camp, you go to the season, and you hit a wall post-Thanksgiving. All rookies do. So the O-line for Seattle is not what it was in September when Charles Cross was impenetrable. But lousy weather, a completion machine in Geno Smith, Brock Purdy makes an early mistake. Shanahan gets tight and restrictive. It feels like 24-17 to me. Ugly, wet, sloppy. One unlucky Niner turnover early. Shanahan puts the clamps in, wants to get out of town. Ball control. Seattle feels like the side. Sharp or square?
Sharp calls winner of the week. I've referenced sharp calls on the podcast multiple times this season. It's a segment we do on the favorites, me and Simon Hunter, where over the course of the week, we get a lot of calls from professional bettors who are listening to the podcast, and they will give us their feedback on games we are talking about. This was the game they all called about. They like the Seahawks in this spot. A lot of reasons why, all of which you just mentioned on the field. I think the weather is certainly something that when you get a number this big, you have to take the weather into consideration, especially unprecedented weather like this. Tons and tons of trends backing the Seahawks in this situation. So yeah, you're playing the sharp side here.
I don't love this.
Do it.
Chargers minus 2.5. Now this concerns me.
That's not the one I wanted you to do.
Okay, this concerns me.
Okay.
Mike Williams not at practice. It's Thursday. But the Chargers defense in the last 5 weeks is different than it was earlier in the year. It is different. Period. The Jaguars have also, as in big spots this year, have been very hot and cold. It kind of depends on the Sunday. They're very young. The Jags feel like they're ahead of where we thought they would be post Urban Meyer disaster. They got good pretty fast. The Chargers, there's a little more urgency. They get rolled. Brandon Staley and that staff are out of work, very possibly. You got to win this game if you're the Chargers. I'm not saying the Jags don't want to win it, but they're ahead of schedule. I didn't think they were going to win this division. We like Vrabel. We like Matt Ryan and the Colts. If Mike Williams can give me some reps, I'm going to take the Chargers minus 2.5, sharp or square.
So, look, it's the playoffs, right? There's not going to be the usual consensus that you get during the regular season. The game opened at 2.5, got bet down pretty aggressively. Wise guys coming in on the Jaguars got down all the way to 1, and then started creeping back up. I think because of the Joey Bosa news. I think when it became clear he was practicing and full go and was going to be fully healthy for this game, it started creeping back up. I love the Jags in this spot. I always have a preference, and that's why the numbers started moving. Wise guys do too, for home underdogs. But I also feel like, and again, this is sometimes a number this close. There's not going to be numbers and metrics and analytics that back it up. It's about where your comfort zone is. I bet on the Jags to win the AFC South before the season began. I was a big believer in Doug Peterson, in the kind of culture he creates, what he could do with the talent like Trevor Lawrence. And over the last half of the season, that paid off, literally paid off. They became the team that we expected them to become. I think he is a better coach than Brandon Staley. I think his decision-making is risky in the right spots, but it's also more consistent than Brandon Staley, who's got Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert playing in a totally meaningless game. Mike Williams getting hurt for no reason whatsoever. And so to me, I'm backing a better coach as a short home underdog. That to me is entirely what it comes down to. And I think that's why the number initially started to move in favor of the Jags.
Okay, I'm going to take another favorite. I love them and will not be mocked for it. Dallas, off losses, has followed all of them this year with multiple wins. It was Dak's worst performance. I have a rule, and it's one of my only betting rules. When a B to B plus quarterback, a capable quarterback, a Kirk Cousins, a Dak Prescott, has a stinker, they read the press, they hear the press, they're pissed. They always bounce back with a solid or better than solid performance. Dallas is the better team. You take out Mike Evans against Carolina's fourth-string cornerback. They can't run. They haven't been vertically successful. There are certain realities with teams. Tampa hasn't run the football in 2 years. They're totally one-dimensional. Brady's got to throw 48 times. I don't care. I'm swallowing the points. I like the Cowboys sharper square.
Totally square. The line opened at 3. I bet it at 3 on Sunday night. It's been sitting around at 2.5 all week. And there's a lot of signals here for the Bucs. Number one, again, short home favorite. You're telling me that I can have Tom Brady, who just finished another record-setting year with his best full game of the year in Week 17. I don't poo-poo what he did in Week 17 against a coach in Mike McCarthy, who, let's face it, has proven to be bad in these tactical situations, high-risk situations where the season is on the line. He just has been. I mean, that going back to Green Bay, teams underperformed in the postseason. Look at how ill-prepared they were last year just in trying to get a snap-off at the end of the game. Look what the Cowboys have done the past several weeks against Sam Howell, Josh Dobbs, Gardner Minshew, giving up 27 points per game the past 5 weeks. Dak Prescott leading the league in interceptions, missing a third of the season. So he's going up against a top 10 defense in total yards passing, yards per attempt, sacks. And by the way, they've got Akeem Hicks and Vita Vea playing together again. It's only the 8th time that's happened all year. The other 7 times, Tampa was 6-1. They gave up less than 4 yards per rush, less than 15 points per game. Without both of those guys, 5 yards per rush, 25 points per game. So you're getting a very healthy defense that will probably play like we expected them to all season long.
All right, now I ask you about a game I considered, and I want you to convince me.
Okay.
So I initially loved the Giants getting 3. Loved it. I like the matchup. Unless you've watched Minnesota a lot, and I have, you don't realize how bad their run defense is. It is atrocious. I think the Giants match up very well. But now everybody likes the Giants. And I am a contrarian. I don't like betting what the public likes. I'm square enough. I don't want to be that square. So convince me, the sharp and the square sides.
Look, there is no convincing here. The Giants are really the sharp side. I will tell you that I haven't bet this game because I'm feeling the same things you are. Taking the points in the Giants is what we should be doing. Like in every metric, this game just happened. The Giants were the better team, outgained the Vikings by 100 yards. Kirk Cousins is 34th in the NFL against the blitz, according to PFF. The Giants blitz most in the league. The Giants play a lot of man. Kirk Cousins struggles against man. The Giants are top 5 defense in situational spots, 3rd down in red zone. The Giants may be a better team than the Vikings, but I'm having a hard time pulling the trigger because of what you just said, because the flip side is the Vikings do win these games. They just did it 3 weeks ago. So I'm having a really hard time this one. Have not bet it. Haven't gotten full consensus other than wise guys are leaning Giants, but still struggling with it.
Okay, Bills are now all odds provided by FanDuel, like a 13.5 point favorite. I honestly would take Buffalo. I think it's going to be awful.
Bills by 1 million. This was our big balls bet of the week.
40-14.
Yeah. I bet the Bills at 12.5. I didn't have the smarts to bet him when it was at 10. I feel like, and a lot of the wise guys feel like, in these wild card games, they oftentimes play to the script. And they oftentimes play to the script when it's a first-time playoff quarterback playing against a veteran playoff quarterback. Or the past 20 years, 14-35 against the spread for first-time playoff quarterbacks. And very small sample size, but favorites of 10 or more at home in the wildcard round, 5-1 the past 6 years. So I am not afraid of taking the Bills at a big number in this game, and the wise guys aren't either.
Wow, I was on the sharp side there.
You were. It's tricky, but here's what happens, Colin. Like the playoffs are entirely different than the regular season. You don't like automatically we'd be thinking, oh, of course we're going to take the Dolphins here, right? And of course we're going to take the Seahawks. Of course we're going to take the Bucs. But you can make a case for the Cowboys. You can make a case for the Chargers. You can make a case for taking the Bills as a really big number. So there, we can all be sharp and we can all be square because there's fewer games, models change, playoffs makes things a lot tighter, games move faster. And then on Sunday and Monday, we find out if we're right or wrong.
Chad Millman, CCO Action Network. God, I love the Cowboys so much.
Well, you want to have a little bet off?
Let's do that. What's that mean?
I don't know. You got the Cowboys. I got the Bucs. We come up with some stakes and we got to figure out how to embarrass each other in the next podcast.
Okay, I'll make you a deal.
Okay.
I own partially, small portion of Maximum Beverage.
I know you do. I shop there all the time because of you.
I will get you. What's your favorite wine?
You know what I love? Clase Azul tequila. It's that nice tequila. It's pricey. But it's in that really fancy, white and blue bottle. It's almost
I love that.
Dude, it's the best. It's the first thing to go. You have it at a party. Everyone's like, this is amazing. And then all of a sudden you're like, it's gone in half an hour. If you win,
if I win,
I will send you 2 Lou Malnati's deep dish pizzas.
Oh, yeah.
Chicago's finest.
Yeah. Those are great. Those
are the best.
Those are great. Go Cowboys.